Live. We are live on Emanating Sovereignty. You are here. You're back. We welcome you. Again, I have the date of today being the 19th of May, 2019. And I got my good friend and a very advanced soul, channeler, creator, healer, body worker, light worker. He's a Renaissance man when it comes to emanating his own self. And I'd like to welcome Tyler Ellison here on the show.
Woo! Little micro applause for myself. Oh man, I'm watching the audience light that's telling everyone to clap, and I'm like, thank you. Yeah,
Thank
man.
you. Okay, calm down, audience. Just
calm down, everybody. I know it's a big deal.
How was I was speaking to you before this broadcast began, and you were speaking on how you had a session yesterday that really opened you up, channeling with the mirrors, using some sort of mirror technique. Did you want to speak about that?
Yeah, I'll talk about that and some of the unique effects it manifested. And this way, if anybody listening wants to try this at home, which I highly recommend, it can help open a lot of doors into yourself. So we set up. I was in a bathroom essentially that had this huge like wall-sized mirror, against the sink, and essentially we positioned other smaller mirrors within the room. So in two of the corners of the room, we had mirrors, and then right in front of me, overlapped with where the bathroom door is, we had a huge mirror there. So no matter where I looked, I would essentially be always perceiving a reflection of myself from the mirror. And I went into the channeling state, and what was coming through wasn't necessarily a specific entity. What came through was emanations from the higher aspects of my own being, which is essentially, many different beings, incarnated across the universe. We should turn the music down just a tad. It's okay. Cool volume is. But yes, so it ended up connecting me to all these different beings that I was connected to. And I was in a very good flow state. A lot of unique information was coming out. And there were kinks. Like I was saying information that when I played it back, I was like, oh, that wasn't actually correct. Like I was saying, historical data that didn't add up in terms of math. And but I don't look at that as like an invalidation. When I saw that information that didn't line up with our history and our timeline came up, I was like, okay, if anything, this was more an exercise for me to connect to these aspects rather than like some kind of skill test to pull out highly accurate information. So I began to detach from what was said, realizing a lot of really powerful stuff was said as well that I found very accurate, as did other people. But realizing that it was actually a doorway into integrating the perception of various aspects of my consciousness that I perceive to be non-physicalized. And a unique effect from that has been I'm aware of these versions of myself very subtly, but simultaneously as I'm aware of the me on the ground. And this has been a very natural state. It feels like I'm falling into more of myself. And it was very much made consistent from the mirror exercise and has been present ever since then. And, a lot of different teachings and tools and ideas have been able to come through, my intuition since then. It's very much opened the door. And we did it on the full moon. So there was a lot of amplification of the energy we were generating.
Yeah, that is powerful. That's powerful. So do you want to explain, like you said you had multiple mirrors that
Yes.
in front of you?
Yeah. So if you can imagine me sitting in a bathroom, right? Maybe on a toilet if you like that, but you don't have to. So imagine me sitting in a bathroom. I'm in a chair. and I'm facing the doorway to the bathroom. The door is open. We have a super big mirror laying against the door frame. So when I look outside of the bathroom through the door, massive mirror there. In the left corner, we have a large mirror position. So to the left of me is a very large mirror. In the right corner, we have like a small kind of closet mirror. Sorry, in the right corner, smaller closet mirror. And then against the right wall, we have a massive mirror that's just like takes up the whole bathroom wall. So no matter where I really looked, even in my peripherals, my reflection was constantly present during the session.
And your eyes are open during this whole session, I presume.
Yes, which was open, made it a little more interesting and a little bit more of a challenge for me, because normally when I channel, it's closed-eyed. So this was a very different sort of experience with that state of being. So what I found at first was I would gravitate to one mirror, and I would just be talking to that. And at a certain point, when we were getting familiar with the exercise, the aspects of myself coming through were like, don't just focus on one. Let the pool of the mirrors naturally direct your gaze to whatever mirror is most appropriate. So I found while I'd be speaking, I would actually shift my attention to different mirrors containing different reflections. And I would then actually begin to talk to that reflection, and it would just kind of cycle from one to the next to the next. And I was aware, because while I'm channeling, I'm very detached. It's very dreamy, very much outside of my normal level of consciousness. And it was interesting because while I was looking at some of the mirrors, I would see like really familiar aspects of me that I couldn't really put into words, but they just felt very familiar. I could feel them. And then other times I'd be speaking and I'm looking in the mirror and I'd be seeing my own shadow or my own fear coming up while I'd be channeling. So it gave me this very unique perspective of when my own insecurities are present in my vibration while I'm in the channeling state. And it was just like I was able to receive all these different perspectives from myself through the exercise.
Wow, that is super deep, and that's like a whole new art form created from channeling, where it's dealing with, channeling the aspects of yourself, and then the physical representation of, look, it's yourself in that mirror. Look, it's yourself in that mirror, and that one. They're all reflecting that I am who's actually going in channeling. So that's super interesting. And what you said about, the whole story you told me earlier was just really inspiring. It's really awesome to hear. So I have Tyler Ellison here on the show because we are going to do something that is not too frequently seen online. We're going to go ahead and allow Tyler to go into a channeling state on this episode, and go ahead and channel a different being who's in other realms live on this broadcast, so that they're here through Tyler's channel. They're going to be here. I'm going to be able to ask questions. If you are in Facebook, you can put any comments on any of the things we shared. If you want to ask a question, maybe you can get through and I'll ask it. But other than that, we are going to go ahead and open up this channeling towards the Atlantean civilizations and societies of Atlantis, which brings the whole slew of ancient aliens-esque style of technology and the different things that, it's pretty prominent in our society now. Ancient aliens got really big since 2012. Everybody's like, what's going on? And 5G is main topic right now too. What's going on? There's a video I watched, I think yesterday. It just came out recently. It's 5G apocalypse. It's like the next extinction style of the propagation going around. It's like 5G is also equated to an extinction event when you're speaking about the AI singularity of that old agenda of making humans into AI, to where we're not sourced in ourselves.
Yes.
So this video was by Sasha Stone from New Earth Nation, and it just goes into these microwave particles, which is 5G, which is actually affecting DNA because it's such microwaves. So that's interesting too. We may ask the Atlanteans what they think about 5G or any technologies that they can offer in protection of the South from them. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be fascinating. I'm excited to hear their points of view as well. And I'd also like to share. So I remember myself. I started researching 5G maybe like less than a year ago, but I started diving into it before it started hitting like the mainstream kind of like alternative health and new age spirituality pages. So I started getting into it, and what I found was just like it's doing for many people, it triggered my own shadow tremendously with all of our ancestral memories of extinction, our ancestral memories of technology, harming us. And it plays into that fear of extinction that our society seems to like to create as a way to make profit through movies or news or whatever. So all of these different aspects of myself that were kind of entangled through belief system with all of these fear ideas got triggered. So very very early on, I found that I had a strong fear, anxiety response to 5G, and I had moments where I was very deepest I've been in my shadow, and it was total like I would call it was almost like being in total resonance with like the darkest aspect of yourself, and then other consciousnesses that are in resonance with it. So I remember I'm in this state, I'm having this like anxiety like phenomenon of like 5G and extinction, and this super dark voice comes in, and it's just like, we've won. This is it. Like, you've lost. You're on the wrong timeline. This is the one where the 5G ends all of you. And I remember in that moment, I was so wrapped up in the fear. I was like, oh no. Like, oh my God, no. We're all doomed. And I was like, fuck. But then what I started to realize was that there is no objective external reality. It doesn't exist. So everything outside of me is an emanation from my own internal frequency and a co-creation of everybody else's internal frequency, together manifesting the reality. And it's like we create these little bubbles of reality in this collective moment, but then in a 0 point of that co-creation, we still all have the individual choice to then generate another frequency to shift to a different co-created reality. So what I realized was, okay, right now I am using beliefs that emanate fear and anxiety. And if I can deconstruct these and let these go, whatever way I have to, I'll naturally shift away from this reality. And that's what I feel I've done. When I see 5G now, again, having researched a lot of the effects as well too, I'm aware of all the literature that talks about its damages, it talks about what it can do. And while this is definitely valid, I'm realizing that to subscribe to that as a narrative enables for that reality to become a focus point for creation. And what I feel is important is to use the fear or anxiety or whatever is emanated by 5G as motivation to transform those qualities in yourself. And what will happen is, I think we will be, if enough people do that, enough people can collectively shift to a bubble of reality where 5G may not even exist. And I very much believe that to be possible. And the pathway to get there is very individualized. However, people shift to that reality will be a quantum effect determined by themselves, their higher selves, and whatever tools they use in their co-creative freedom to build that. And what I've realized now, and this is coming just from my own experience, I have seen very quickly how the Earth is already providing us solutions to displace 5G cellular and satellite and local emanations. To displace this, the Earth is already providing us these tools, and that I would like to get into.
Yeah, that is super well said too about moving on that 0 point fulcrum of belief, because that brings about people's questioning reality, and people bringing in the topic of placebo belief engine, or using the power of belief to enforce that reality and outcreate the 5G and the other agendas, which is very interesting. So what sort of techniques are you speaking about? I know you've learned the
Yeah,
what is it, steel shirt
it's
or iron?
iron shirt. Yeah, iron shirt. Qigong.
Yeah, so I'm interested about doing an iron shirt on the microwave levels or something
Oh,
of that effect. That comes to mind. So
yeah.
yeah. What sort of techniques or tips or anything can you share for the audience for people
Yeah.
to get out there and actually protect themselves?
Of course, yeah. So this will be a very interesting exercise for people that apply it. I think you will all be very intrigued at the effects you'll have, not just as we shift, down this rabbit hole of the plot line of 5G unfolding, however it does, but also in your daily lives as you interact with your technologies, but also one another. You'll notice this will induce effects with other people. This is a very, very powerful technique, and I'm very honored to be able to share it because it is a technique where it's essentially hybridized. I've developed this formula of technique through my own internal practice of energy medicine, and also beautiful pieces of information many other sources have shared generously. So one of my favorite channels, Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka, has shared a piece of information that I found to be so crucial. As have my own spirit guides, as have many health scientists and researchers. So many pieces are coming together that allow for us to very alchemically, as you use the term, outcreate this type of reality experience to create one that we individually or collectively prefer. So these techniques are very much in support of that. And I have firsthand experienced very interesting effects in multiple areas through using them. So I'm just going to take a beautiful inhale of some tobacco derivative. One moment. I love it. Look at us. Look at us. How amazing. How fun. All right. Now, this is something that came through the Bashar channel by Daryl Anka, and this is the frequency tone of C sharp. This is the resonant tone of the earth. The earth emanates C sharp. So what I have done, and I did this in my
sharp.
C sharp. Yeah, this is the tone of the earth. Now this is something I had played with when I was younger. When I first heard this information, I didn't know what it would do, and I was very new to spirituality and esoteric science, so I just played it all the time. All the friggin' time, not knowing what it would do. It was just, I just had this high frequency tone, just like emanating from all my speakers, just being like, it's supposed to be good for me, let me do it. But what I found was I actually trained my brain to be able to emanate that frequency on demand. Just by imagining the sound, like you can imagine a song, you're getting your internal energy to emanate that frequency. So what I have found is through visualization meditations, you can combine this frequency as an auditory component to different visualizations. So what you can do as an exercise for those of you at home to do after this, after this broadcast, or at your own convenience, is play the tone of C sharp. You can find it on YouTube. Just type in tone of the earth, C sharp, and just listen to it and listen to it and listen to it. Like really understand the frequency to the point where when you turn it off, you can just imagine the frequency. That's how ingrained you want it to get. And there's a major center in our body, so shifting our attention now to our bodies, because it's sort of a formula, like I was saying, there's a few steps. So first you want to get familiar with the tone. That's step one. Step two, you want to get familiar with your internal energy, your internal body awareness. So what I tell people to do that, easiest way is to feel your eyes, touch the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And if you're at home, follow along with this. So you're aware of left and right eye. And then you touch the tip of the tongue about an inch behind the teeth. And just create a big, loving smile. Feel a memory, a fantasy, whatever it is, a dream, a flower, whatever imagery or experience represents unconditional love, and feel that in the eyes, and smile to it, an inward smile, and allow for an external smile to spiral into the face, spiraling the dimples, spiraling the energy of the smile just into the face. And then you bring that into the brain, and smile that energy into the brain. You use the breath to guide it. Imagine the breath through the nostrils is spiraling that energy into the brain. And feel the brain light up. And then you spiral that down through a smile to the center point of the chest, the heart center. And smile there, feeling the eyes smiling to the chest. And you bring that smile down to the belly, right behind the navel. And when you're in this belly awareness, this is the part I really want you to focus on. When you're in the belly awareness, this is one of your most powerful, most rooted energy centers. And what you can do is begin to connect with the belly and smile to it and charge it with love. So you're generating all that love to it, but then overlay C# into the belly. And what you'll be doing is you're going to be emanating that frequency from your core. This frequency has the ability to bring in the Earth's vibration into your auric field, no matter where you are. So you can actually be a walking emanation of the Earth's tonal frequency. And this has real effects, not just on technology and how EMFs affect your system. This will also create a state of being that others in your environment can match if they choose. You will be exposing people who are very connected to the artificial EMFs to the natural vibrational tone of the Earth. So what you're doing is you're acting as sort of like a generator of the Earth's frequency. And then if other people choose, they can also emanate this. And when I do this in public, I can watch the collective consciousness of those around me shift. I can watch an aspect of them awaken to the Earth vibration, and then it is in their court to use that however they choose. So I'm emanating a possibility to them. And if they then match it on enough levels, they are also beginning to slightly emanate the Earth's tone on that higher self, subtle energy level. And this technique in particular can absolutely protect against the effect of EMF. And it's very powerful because it's your internal connection to yourself that really generates your overall vibration. Like a lot of people believe, I got to eat high vibe food. I got to take high vibe supplements, I gotta listen to high vibe music, and yes, all of that. But the real key here is to connect to that internal state of yourself and to feed it like you're feeding a child with unconditional love and appreciation and encouragement and support. And once you get that in that belly center, it expands naturally to your whole being. And once you're tapped into that, you are then in control of your aura. You are beginning to get in control of your energy. And when you overlay the C#, you are overlaying that to every system in your body. And it is quite powerful. And I'll leave it at here just so we can take apart this idea before we move on to other ideas.
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was beautiful, Tyler. I also wanted to share my experience while you were guiding that. I was outside. I went ahead and did the practice also. Mm-hmm. And this big gust of air, this huge wave of wind just came as soon as we dropped into the stomach. This big loving sort of wind, a wave of air just came, and like a big gust of wind just came out of nowhere. And that's cool because that's speaking about the personal EMF, the frequency we all bring out in waves to the reality, and getting in this getting this sort of knowledge into our knowingness is like a key to be here in reality.
Oh yes, and you'll find, just as you said with the wind, this has the ability to connect you very deeply, not just with the physical qualities of our earth vibration, but you'll tap into the elemental qualities very quickly. And it's also a key for awakening because it's the earth that is holding the root Kundalini energy that we all tap into. So our Kundalini at the base of the spine is connected to the Kundalini, the sexual energy of our earth. And as you're emanating this frequency, you are also giving yourself a permission slip to tap into your own Kundalini, which is essentially, I mean, it's the most masterful co-creative energy, earth-based in that way that I'm aware of, that we have in our, our esoteric texts. And other worlds have their own version of this in different, different beings in different ways. But when we emanate this C sharp, we're also tapping into Earth Kundalini, which we can then begin to play with and guide up the spine and down the front of the body to balance it, if you want to go that far. But you'll find that through just the awakening of the Kundalini naturally through the C sharp, as well as emanating the C sharp, it will turn on multiple abilities over time, as well as people's psychic sense to the earth spirit realm.
Yeah, that's deep, and that's a foundational sort of teaching that anyone can take in and start implementing in their life. Because we all live in reality. We all have these keys to reality in which we can communicate. And that masterful sort of energy, that raw energy, that sexual energy that flows from somewhere, in connection with the earth, that just brings to mind that's like the energy or the electricity or the charge. Raw energy would be the charge. And there's a whole sort of magnetism underlie that the earth is also there with. There's a whole magnetic field, or there's a whole bubble of reality in which the electricity goes into. So when we emanate that inner smile to the different parts of us and throughout the whole bubble of our reality, we're tuning into different magnetism lines. Here in this bubble of our own reality, we're tuning into this whole other layer of magnetic lines that we can send our charge through. Or we can, expand our I am density bubble to see the other bigger layers of the bubble and get into all those nooks and crannies of where we want to send the smile, where we want to send our love, and however unthwarted we can really be with it, and not smile to something because of a judgment, which limits the bubble, which limits even the magnetic potential of something happening and coming manifest.
Exactly.
So the inner smile is key. That just returns everyone to heart joy.
Yes. And it's that essence of connecting the heart awareness to any part of the body, because the inner smile, we cultivate it in the brain, the heart, and in the belly. But you'll find through application, you can bring the inner smile to any part of your body. And you're bringing the heart love. You're bringing the heart EMF, the heart esoteric field, to a localized point of your attention to any part of the body. And you can even imagine it, right? Let's say you have like back pain, right? Let's say it's like maybe you have a vertebra that's maybe out of alignment and causing you pain, maybe pinching a nerve, or you know what I mean? You just got something uncomfortable, toothache. What you'll find is you can begin to inner smile to this location. And at first it might just seem like, just a feeling. But through visualization, you can actually craft the inner smile into like a bubble, maybe a circle of energy, maybe like the imagery of like a galaxy, something vortexing. And you can actually spiral the inner smile into these different parts of the body. It's recommended not to spiral into the heart typically. The heart's a very intense energy center. It can be a little overstimulating. But any parts of the body that, you could use that in where you're having issues, you'll find you can bring that heart love right to these areas and spiral it. And I've actually had pain go away instantly through that. And I love it because it's like taking the heart awareness and allowing for it to actually become everything that you are, not just keeping it in the heart, because the heart's field envelops our whole being. And this application of technique is allowing for that infinite expansion of love to go in a conscious way wherever we want it. And that's, you know, part of our birthright, to use our energy whatever way we want it in a manner that is for the utmost benefit of our own passion, excitement, and self-discovery. Because if you're coming from that place, I mean, it's hard to step on the toes of others, because you instantly become others. You instantly become that higher point of view with others. And it's like, whoa, like, not only am I helping myself, but your higher self's giving me verification I'm helping you. And that's something I've seen where other people's higher selves will actually be like, no, you're doing the right thing. Even though this energy field is offering perspectives, offering bubbles to others, remembering you're doing that in synchronicity, where other people are able to pick up on it. And if they want to use it, they can. And if they don't want to use it, they don't have to.
Beautiful. And you won't step on their toes for not using it. But okay, so there may be a viewer that comes here that has that may want to say, yeah, but have you ever even had a toothache? How can you smile to that toothache pain? That's some of the worst pain ever.
Yeah.
You know, so do you have any tips for someone who's having trouble with getting out that inner smile to a pain on their back or a pain in their teeth, you know, like, and they're like, I can't smile to my teeth. It hurts so much.
Yes, exactly. So this is coming from a point of view that looks at everything, even our pain, even the darkness of war and famine and all the stuff that no one enjoys, all the stuff everyone's like, no friggin' way, let's get that out of here. All that stuff is reflective of an internal emanation within us, whether it's pain internally, whether it's poverty externally. It's coming from something within us. It has to, because we are it. We wouldn't experience it otherwise, because we are everything. So when you can begin to look at the pain as actually reflecting to you a quality of yourself, typically within the shadow that's requiring attention, you can begin to look at it as slightly malleable, because it takes the pain's origin point out of the physicality. It's no longer your body inflicting this. It's an aspect of you that you are co-creating, manifesting it. So even though it might seem like you're pointing the finger at the victim or something, it's actually a perspective of empowerment, because it's saying, listen, you're an infinite being, and I believe in you, the universe believes in you, and you can do all types of interesting things that you may not be aware of. And if you can believe that, you know, on some level your energy is actually emanating that pain, and that means, because you can change your energy, because you're always changing, that means you can change how that pain manifests. And the key is to not get caught in expectation of, you do the technique once expecting yourself to be healed. As soon as you do that, I mean, you're going to block it. The idea is, when you start to utilize these techniques of healing and magic for, you know, physical things like, oh, I want to take my pain away, or I want to heal a person, it's never just about that thing. Whenever you're invoking spirit, it's always going to accelerate your own awakening process. So understand, if you use these techniques, it's going to trigger your self-growth, because you're growing consciously just by using the technique. So I just want to preface with that. But one of the key things what people have to begin to do is to be able to step outside of themselves, be able to create a point of view where they're imagining them in pain. Right? They're imagining them as they are. Oh, I'm in pain. Oh, I'm sick. Oh, I have a broken heart. And imagine that you, and then imagine a you outside of that, watching it. Like you're zooming the camera lens out and you're now watching this you. And maybe the you watching it is still judging it and is like, you know, that person sucks. They're in pain. I don't like them. Step out a level further. Watch that version of you. And the idea is you keep stepping back until you create a level of neutrality in yourself. You're like zooming out your perspective, imagining all these different versions of you watching yourself. And eventually you'll zoom out to a point of view where you're observing the observer version of you that's not judging it. When you get to that point, that's when you can begin to play around with some of these techniques in a way that might not feel limiting. You might have a little bit more sense of your infinite nature. But the key is beginning to step outside of yourself and the identification of someone who is in pain, all while embracing, yes, there's a version of you in pain, not rejecting that, because you have to accept that. You have to integrate that as part of reality, because that's what it is, if that's going on for you. But the idea is, as you step outside to these different points of view, you're going to start to see other versions of yourself that are not in pain. and you'll start to embody them just by becoming aware of their possibility and then becoming aware of their energy. And once you're there, that's when you have a lot more wiggle room to do a lot of this magical healing work. And I say magical because to people that don't understand it very well, or they're new to it, it might seem very magical. But really what we're talking about here is a science. It's a magical science. It's just the science of energy, the science of the magical forces that bring our creation into a point of view where it can experience itself.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, the spirit EMF. Get it into your scientific belief. Get it into your permission to make known the unknown. So maybe that magic that you shunned was purely just some compartment that you were shunning.
Yeah.
Because the magic, could be totally open for definition now.
Exactly.
Because we're always evolving. We're always evolving our language.
Yes.
So that's another thing with the spells. I'm sure doing guided words really open up the bubble for that inner smile.
Exactly.
Like if I could change this tooth pain, would I? That just opens up the doors. So that's awesome.
That's a great question to ask.
Yeah. And just the question is the importance of being here. We're able to question the statements that are not meant to be stated forever. All these statements are temporary. So all the stuff that was fed by the global narrative will not stand to the passage of our magical I am presence in time, or moving frequency of time. So that's just beautiful. Just returning to the heart, returning to the source of time, the source of questions, questing I on, or whatever.
Yeah. Oh man, I like that.
So we did start this show a little bit late. I had some technical problems with myself. I had to eat some food too. But I was running late. So would you like to go into the next part of this video to go ahead and do the channeling?
Yes, I would. Let me situate my camera to...
Okay, we'll do a short intermission, everybody. Just hold tight.
All right. So,
Nice.
Ryne, when you are ready, I'm ready as well.
Okay. I'm just getting situated. Okay. And are you going to do something to enter the channeling state, or?
Yeah. So I've already opened up a great deal of supportive energy in the space. So the space is very conducive for great channeling. And I'll just take a moment of time to essentially broadcast my awareness into the universe, multiply it, and then bring it into my body, bring it into the earth, and then connect it to the Atlantean beings that are already here wishing to contact more directly with us. As many of these emanations, I believe, are absolutely coming from their society. So they're already here. I can already feel their energy coming through as I'm slipping into the state just by, putting awareness onto their existence, giving energy to their existence and thanking them for their generosity in communicating with us. And they are also thanking all of us for our generosity in communicating with them. Understanding that the version of them we will get is always dependent, of course, upon our underlying vibration. And that is the best key I have to anyone who wants to not only channel, but work with these interdimensional societies. It is whatever vibration you are utilizing that will determine the version of them that you connect with, as well as the version of yourself and others. And so that's just a little opener. And yeah, without further ado, I can get into the state.
Yes. I'm prepared over here.
Okay. Much gratitude and appreciation for all members of your current experiment of the human type. We communicate to you through strands of time in our astral forms while we are still localized physically. Through our application of different technologies, which you are all beginning to develop, we have learned how to root our physical bodies in an unchanging resonance with the earth, as well as other elements within nature and different elements within the universe that are supportive of this. We've allowed for ourselves to remain in prolonged states, which you understand to be astral travel, astral projection, where we have entire astral societies we have built, where we actually live completely different lives that you could say are separate from the physical, but are actually supportive and happening synchronistically with everything we are doing in our physical reality framework. And the idea would be this: we have developed many of our revolutionary, highly spiritualized technologies through actually building conscious earth-based astral societies. And it was through learning from our higher selves and the other guides existing within these societies we created that we began to download schematics and understandings of different technologies that could be implemented into the physical, because we began to perceive they already existed in the astral. We began to perceive other societies that were utilizing the technologies, and they showed us how to build them in the astral. We then eventually began to, using our vibrational engineering, construction, technology of physicality, we began to craft them. And for a while, it was done through more physicalized means. After some time, we became so in resonance with these physicalized constructions, as well as the astral constructions, we actually began to teleport in technology directly, which you'd understand as instantaneous manifestation before the eyes of our groups doing it, as well as our people when we would utilize them for public displays. It is through the application of this technology that we have opened ourselves up to a point of view where we are able to understand different parallel reality frameworks of which you call time. And as a result, we are able to emanate many of these technologies across the strands of time to futurized humans, to past humans, on different timelines, so that they are able to receive whatever aspects of these technology is then relevant for them and their collective societies. Please understand, we have done this for your society. Aspects of our society have shared technologies you would consider to be negative with your society. Done, of course, by sole contract and agreement, so collective lessons could then be learned. Understand other factions are also sharing highly beneficial technologies by agreement, so lessons can then be learned. And the idea is we, as Atlantean society, are learning through your society, applying the different technologies and using them from your point of view. And through observing how you interface with the technology, it actually shows us how we can improve our society, because you essentially are going through a rapid acceleration within yourselves. And as a result, when you apply these technologies, you get to go through many of the lessons our society went through, but in a much quicker pace. So you are actually overcoming and transforming the darker aspects of these technologies and integrating the positive versions of these technologies. And this, again, is always done by your own higher selves, bringing these themes into the collective so your human story of shedding limitation can be propelled further in its development. And I speak as a representative of a major innovating group within Atlantis. Our group has been using the term, although we change it over time as our technologies change and our themes change, we have been utilizing the name Remembrance as the tool, permission slip for contact that we utilize as your English translation of our name. The reason we call it Remembrance is because of the theme we are emanating to you currently, of remembering your ability to utilize these technologies that you have also already utilized in your histories, and you are also utilizing in your futures. And we use the name Remembrance to assist people in reflecting on the notion that memory goes forwards and backwards. It goes left and right. It goes in and out, because what you call memory is actually tapping in to different points of view that you have across different realities reflective of different times. So Remembrance would be an appropriate project name you could focus on if you wanted to know the name of our group. I myself, in this way, as one of the project leaders, go by the name Raphael, chosen because of our relationship with this consciousness and downloading different technologies and interacting with this intergalactic consciousness in these astral realms, understanding it is the angelic beings in many ways, that when you connect with them, they will actually be some of the chief emanators of these schematics and blueprints, because it is the angelic beings that actually assist this physical universe in particular in being able to have an infrastructure for all types of consciousness to incarnate upon. So much of our technology was downloaded from these points of view, as they also represent a linkage network to multidimensional societies based in stars, where these technologies are actually reflective representations of how these beings live. So we wish to just open ourselves up to you in this way, so you can understand a little bit more about our group and what we wish to share.
Thank you very, very much. I'm honored to speak with the Remembrance civilization. It's an honor to meet you and speak with you and connect on these layers of connection that we're in. How are you? How goes it, Raphael? Or how are you feeling in this now moment?
I'm feeling inquisitive, in particular, because we're not often channeled in this kind of format. So as a result, I'm rather inquisitive about how the information will be applied amongst the current human versions that are existing right now on the surface. Because I understand that right now, this represents just one emanation of our civilization reaching your collective consciousness. Whenever societies are channeled into Earth, even if it's from another parallel past version of Earth, it always represents that energy also emanating much more deeply into the collective consciousness theme. So I'm not just inquisitive about how the information will be applied here, but how your society will take these vibrations that are reflective of the concepts we're conveying, and how people in current Earth society will apply them in their everyday lives. So I'm rather curious at this point, and I remain very open-hearted, understanding that the free-willed nature of humans will allow for us all to use this interaction whatever way we all deem appropriate for us. And because of that free will component, I am mystified at the realm of possibilities of what your society will birth. But I remain very happy as well in this regard, because I also see how it is likely to begin to unfold.
Aye, yes. Joy through all eyes. Send this ceremony as a blessing for all beings of free will. I send this out as a beacon of love, and I'm happy to share. I did have some questions already.
I would love to assist you in revealing the answers to yourselves.
Thank you. So when you were speaking earlier, you mentioned that your civilization or your energy was anchored or rooted in different elements or different parts of this world. And it was also here by means of astral anchorage. So I was wondering if you can speak on how you go about rooting your consciousness in the material world, in, let's say, crystals or whatever is rooted in, and if it's connected to rooting in the astral plane, or if there's some way to explain how y'all are anchored here.
Yes.
But by those means.
All right, let's get into some of the specifics. So we consider ourselves to be anchored within our particular reality framework. So you understand to be past Earth, and one version of past Earth, because you have many versions. We represent one version linked to other parallel realities, essentially a unique timeline related to your unique timeline you experience your society to be on. So we are rooted here in this way, and we utilize specific vibrational technologies to be able to generate frequencies that, again, resonate with what you call C#. We had different language for this at the time. So we were utilizing that particular Earth frequency in a way that allowed for our physical bodies to go into resonance with it. We also anchored this in utilizing various crystalline beings that were also quartz in nature, as they are able to hold the emanation of this vibration projected acoustically. In addition to this, we also had various substances on our Earth. You know one of them to be shungite. We also were utilizing this at the same time, placed on our bodies. As shungite, reflecting what you call carbon, also is very linked to a fundamental aspect of the Earth. These were primary vibrational permission slips we used to strengthen our physicalized technology. So we had emanations, creating harmonics and creating frequency our bodies would sync to, linking us to the crystals that would also reinforce this. We had groups of people at the same time in the same rooms, positioned in certain shapes, sometimes square, sometimes triangle. Idea is positioned in certain shapes would allow for this to unfold very easily. We then would link consciousnesses with one another. What this does is it allows for us to be able to travel into the astral realm in a very connected way, where each one of us is linked in a unity consciousness while simultaneously connected to the earth. This allows for beings to then spend prolonged periods of time in the astral without becoming detached from the physical body. Because an aspect of your consciousness is so fundamentally rooted to the physical body, you're simultaneously inhabiting both realities. So it allows for you to spend hours, if you choose, in these realms in a way that is clear and cognizant amongst the other members. We also, through the unity consciousness, allowed for telepathy to develop. So when we were in the astral, we would not have to strategize with the physical mind. We would be able to follow the emanation of our joy and love, as this represents the natural unfolding of the universe. And while in the astral, we then went on different journeys to collect different astral materials from other dimensions, following schematics from beings we met in the astral to create different structures based on their schematics unique to their civilizations. We then began to create these structures in the astral. Upon creating them, we would study them, take notes, while still observing them from this point of view. Once we had enough notes, understandings, we would then breathe in the elements of the construction of the technology into our astral bodies, and we would then bring them back into the physical bodies, allowing for the schematics to begin to crystallize. What would happen afterwards began very slowly, but soon accelerated. We began to have downloads in dreams and inspiration of these technologies and how to build them. It happened small at first, but each person began to remember different pieces to this puzzle. And we began to be able to create the same astral technologies utilizing what was already available on the earth. Eventually, because remember, we are integrating the astral technology into our bodies, eventually it became so crystallized and our technology in the astral became so linked with the technology in the physical, we began to open a portal to our unique version of the astral realm, where we were actually building technologies in a manner that was done seemingly automatically by our own higher selves. So other technologies we actually hadn't built could then be very quickly downloaded and built, and at a certain point they became instantaneous manifestations through the utilization of creating a proper harmonic environment in whatever space we chose to manifest such technologies.
Wow.
So linked in both astral and physical.
Wow, wow. That was deep. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that just to get another layer and grasp that.
Of course.
It seemed like a way of reverse engineering some natural principles or something like that. I'm going to enjoy listening to that again. And you mentioned Shungite, which I'd like to urge whoever is here, if you haven't heard of Shungite listening, to, look into Shungite. It's one of the oldest ancient stones, which is created through many different means. And, I urge people to look into Shungite because that is awesome how you mentioned your civilization was using that to do that sort of root and anchorage of your consciousness technique. So that's awesome. I would also like to move forward into your role in the whole sort of game of consciousness which is taking place here on Earth.
Sure.
Your society and your people of remembrance. And if you have a message for any of the surface dwellers, any of the I am beings here on the surface of the Earth, who are the natural beings here, who are up against the agendas of control. Do you have any sort of message or maybe tips for people to aid everyone in their own way by what your civilization is bringing forward right now in these times, 2019, May 2019? where people are going up against 5G and all those different things.
Remembering the following: whenever you view something in your reality as your opponent, as your enemy, as an oppressor, you are shifting to that existence. Because remember, everything is you, even these things that are vilified in your lives. Even being able to send them love. Realizing that nothing can actually penetrate who you are. And that by sending even the darkest aspects of what you see in your society, the vibration of love, you are shifting your awareness and collective awareness to a parallel version of Earth through that imagination, where you can then begin to experience those things with a less strong presence in your reality. And through the constant emanation and non-judgment of these things, you'll find you'll eventually arrive at a version of Earth where they are not there at all. And this is a very important message I want to drive home, because our society did not realize that. Our society went into essentially a cataclysm, particularly because we believed we were being negatively influenced by the technology of the other scientific groups. We developed in that way a collective paranoia, as you can see happening in your society. Because the technology represents rapid change, but not that the technology is inducing it, it's reflecting your own consciousness as rapid change. And because people fear becoming what they do not yet understand themselves to be, when they are brought up that way, it triggers these types of feelings. Our society was not savvy enough to transform them. And this was mainly done so particular themes would play out in our reality that would ensure humanity would go through a forgetting of these technologies for some time. This is also why we use the name Remembrance.
Wow. And it's very interesting the way you mentioned how concurrent your society is running into the wall of fear-based catastrophic events that are created by the belief, set out and peddled by the heart-based beings, who lost themselves in that fear or lost themselves in the giving their belief away to catastrophe. And it's just interesting how even beings who are in their own time bubbles have connections to the same sort of universal energies.
Yes, yes.
And, you coming from the fire like the phoenix, who's still connected, who wants to bring a message, an essence of life, is very inspiring moving forward. And I was interested because about the way that this sort of catastrophe propaganda propagates. I believe a lot of it is because of the words, the languages people put spells on themselves with their own words by not even knowing it. So I was interested in the sort of language y'all had in your society. If it was like this three-dimensional based language, if it was telepathy, or how would you convey in your language, in your time?
Certain members of our society that were in unity consciousness could experience telepathy quite commonly. Normally it was the default mode of these groups, but it was not emanated publicly, as were many of these technologies, up until a certain point where their presence was so widespread and obvious that we as these different research groups really were in a position where it was time to disclose them. So many members of our society, just like yours in this way, seem to be left in the dark about what is taking place technologically. We utilize spoken vocabulary commonly in our society, just like you do. Different languages, though. You would find that it is, in terms of what is similar on your world, a actual hybrid of some of the tonal emanations you experience in your Asian languages, as well as some of which you call the soothing vibrational aspects of your Romance languages. It was a combination of both of these, which actually has the ability to take the emanations, like you were saying, much more out of the 4D realm and into a much more, how do we say this, high frequency version of the language. And this had to do with the level of consciousness we were at, through utilizing tones and through utilizing some of just the normal vibrational sounds associated as the general aspects of the letter and the flowing of the letters together to create, again, sounds of relaxation. It enabled our society to be able to begin to shift more into unity consciousness over time. However, again, this is also going to point some fingers into the idea of your perception of words and their power. The word in and of itself does not have any power except for the power the individual puts into it. So even though our society was utilizing a language based in higher dimensions, as well as different cues that induce physiological relaxation, it was still not enough for our society to shift one way or the other. It was not enough to unify the society fully, and it was not enough to be able to break it into chaos, or what you call control, in that negative sense, and where the idea of the game of control being played out to an extensive degree would then occur. So words, understand, they do have their meanings, but what's actually going on is it's not the word fear actually contains fear. The fear word is just an arrow pointing to the emanation of fear within oneself. The idea is your brains have been wired in a particular way that causes you to apply your languages in a manner that's actually slightly inappropriate. So when you have these words that, again, do have subtle constructs, yes, your words have codes, your words have meaning. Remember, it's not the word that induces the meaning effect on the person, though, it is the person. But understand that these words, when they are spoken, oftentimes many of your society members listen with the brain. And as a result, when you listen with just the brain, it has a stronger impact, a more directive impact on your neural pathways. So what you call a spell effect of a word is actually mishearing the word using the brain as the primary tool. So what ends up happening is the frequency the word is in combination with whatever feeling it's invoking in the person hearing it, goes directly to the brain and then begins to carve the neural pathways. And this is done when a person listens with just the brain. When a person can then listen with the heart, you slow down that process of the integration of concepts because you're stepping outside of time. So you are able to take a seat back and look at the emanations that the words are revealing. And from here, different meanings, different interpretations, and different understandings can be applied in a way that you could say breaks the spell many people project words to have. And the idea is it seems to be a control mechanism because people are instantaneously crystallizing their own fear and resonance with the word through utilizing the brain as the primary means of interaction.
Wow, that was genius. That really helped me out a lot. It brings up my own, inner mind, or my brain synapses being triggered of about legioning to these words, and re-legioning to these words, like the whole Bible written about the power of the word. And first there was, and then there was light, and it was said, let's all re-legion, and all that. So it's cool to at least put that into its own words and then out it to the whole of the universe, or the universes, or the one songs. And it's awesome how you referred to the English language or modern era language as Romance language, the Roman ticks, and all the pops and all of those stage presence words to create that mask of another layer of the stage in the way from the natural presence. So it's cool to also out that and all the romance languages. As far as I know, you've traveled to be here in the now through this channel and through this YouTube broadcast as well, which is amazing. Were there any certain topics you want to talk about, or any sort of message you'd like to give on emanating sovereignty, or any sort of direction you want to go with the convo?
Yes, we would like to apply this overtone to much of the groundwork we have laid in terms of different ideas now beginning to emanate throughout your collective. This is going to be based upon what we've said of being able to create physical technologies that can help support the generation of unique consciousness. The idea is, whether you're using a supplement, whether you're utilizing a crystal, whether you're utilizing what you call binaural beats, no matter what it is, how you begin to explore and utilize that technology will always be filtered to a large extent through your belief of what is possible. So, we may give you all the schematics we can, and we're going to be giving you much more. Many innovations will be made in your world, again, done by agreement, and we are happy to donate our technology, especially from our group. But understand, you are welcome. But understand, no matter what technology we give you, it is your underlying eminence, your underlying vibration, that determines how intricately and extensively the technology can be accessed and utilized, as well as, again, the preliminary step of developing unity consciousness, which many of you are tapping into, many of you have experienced. When you believe that your wildest dreams are possible, these technologies will begin to reflect that. And this is our primary message to you. Ensure you are believing in infinite possibility. As soon as you believe in infinite possibility, light and dark is both seen in its fullest. So you can embrace what you consider to be positive, and you can transform within yourself what you perceive to be negative. And this will assist you in utilizing the technologies even further, because you will then be ensuring that whatever emanation you're projecting into the unity consciousness or into the astral realm in that sense, to build technologies or go on adventures, whatever you prefer, or the interweaving of both, it will be this alchemized, transformed state that will propel you into freedom in a way that's not just known, but is also directly experienced in conjunction with the knowingness, and then reinforced through the sense of freedom that you may have when you've got dive deep into the astral.
Wow. Is there a specific word to hold on to while diving deep in the astral and creation?
If you had to have a mantra or word, you'll find it will come organically to you. Your own soul, spirit guides, spirit animals, minerals, whatever you're connected to, will give you certain words that will be unique to you. And the idea is, again, remember, the word is a code, the word is a symbol, but it's a technology, just as we have said. And as a result, the technology will only be able to express itself to the fullest of your unlimited point of view of yourself. So when you create words that act as these permission slip tools for anchorage or freedom, remember to trust the word, love the word, empower the word, thank the word, use it when you are doing things that may even seem mundane, to observe the word's ripples empowered through your energy into the reality. And this will allow for you to develop a working relationship with this word. And once you have crystallized it and you have built the trust of the word through your love and experience with it, you will find that it will actually become an automatic state of being you're in when you just push the right buttons very quickly inside of yourselves. And it will become a default state of being that you can then build upon as you learn more, to then improve upon and evolve your internal state of being.
Oh, thank you so much, Raphael. Thank you so much.
You are quite welcome.
just brings me to point out the era that I seem to find the surface world in. A good word for the current era on Earth. I see everyone as trigger. It's like a trigger era. Everyone's in a trigger area. They either know that they're not their triggers and are not controlled by the word, or they don't know that and they're purely trigger body. There's just so many other people's triggers in their own body because other means of tacit consent given to, other trigger holders to put in their body. So it's just interesting. I don't know if anybody's outed this era of information, as like a trigger era.
You would find that this is a theme that many beings are observing within your society. And again, it's all like what we were saying before of essentially letting go of the brain being the primordial sense organ and returning it to the heart, because the heart is the most primordial. All it does is sense. It's senses that then create itself into a body while you are in utero. And again, when people then slip into that point of view of the heart, these words will not be necessarily as triggering, as rapid fire as they're described, as they may seem when you're hearing them from the brain. And again, understanding that the words are reflecting elements of your culture you don't prefer, elements of your people you don't prefer, and most importantly, elements of yourselves you don't prefer. And understanding that the heart-based awareness will help you to detach from the automatic negative response that seems automatic, but it's actually chosen. We want to emphasize that it's chosen by you through agreement with yourself to choose that negative response. But when you step outside of the heart, you become aware of the heart's infinite possibilities and how it can show you, wait a minute, that is automatic. I don't have to choose it. And the thing that's triggering me, maybe it is racism, maybe it is genocide. There is something in me, no matter who I am, that is somehow feeding into this. And that's why I feel the negative emotion. Many people on this version of Earth believe that they must have the negative emotion in order to transform whatever the thing is they want to transform. The negative emotion is just a symbol to show you there is something that has the possibility to be transformed and integrated. Once you've gotten that message from the negative feeling, you can detach from it while still validating it and respecting it. And through the detachment and then shifting into love, and sending the love to the reality you want to change, sending the love to the inner reality, empowering the outer reality, you can then begin to be your own alchemist and go through whatever process you must go through to transform the aspect of yourself that is empowering whatever it is that's triggering you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Our pleasure.
I do see the time on my end and on your end. We kind of went over because we started this session a little later than what was proposed. So would you like to do light language? Would you like to do any sort of leaving ceremony, or how are you on time?
Let us check in. We have approximately 15 minutes remaining that we feel would be appropriate for not only exploring one more topic, but also we will set aside time for emanations from the Atlantean collectives in the variations in which our society exists, including the one where we did have an awakening, to begin to come into your reality. So other points of view in relationship to positively transforming any situation, especially those you consider to be technological, can begin to be emanated. And this will be we will use light language in that way, as you understand the translation to be, as an attunement tool for anyone who wishes to listen to it. So we would allow for both to take place.
Oh, awesome. Yes, I'm very, very much interested in that. In the era, the reality where your civilization awakened, and also the sort of message you can give to those here on the awakening path in this era that we're in. So those are very good topics to go into.
Yes. Now, we want to talk about a very interesting idea in relationship to the creation of the species that you have on Earth. We have on our version of Earth, connected again to your timeline. Remembering that there are different origin stories for the human body, different versions of the original human body, all of them playing out in different worlds, different versions of Earth, and you would understand it as actual off-world planets, where the human experiment in this way was also done, but utilizing different elements. So humans in this way are not native to the Earth. They also exist elsewhere in other physical reality frameworks. We are laying this groundwork to expand the generalized point of view for all who listen to this. Because of this broad spectrum of experience and origin point, as you would understand it, even though it's not really an origin point, it's just one development in the overall consciousness that is humanity crystallizing into Earth, there are many different ways it has done this on different timelines. Some of these timelines have gone in very unique directions, have been highly positive, some have been highly negative, and the idea is that Source allows for infinite variation of all events to exist to certain degrees in different parallel realities, so all perspectives can be seen by Source because Source is all perspectives. Moving a little forward now, the branch of our society on a different timeline that did go through its awakening process had a particular origin story where alterations were made to different animal consciousnesses, different plant consciousnesses, and an original species of human was born that you would understand to be less mammalian and much more plant-based. This particular emanation, this particular vibration, allowed for similar themes in your current timeline, our current timeline, to be able to unfold, but they were experienced very differently. Because the idea is that levels of unity consciousness were maintained throughout the human people. And there were certain agreements that were not made collectively in this timeline, such as the interjection of negative constructs into the collective human belief. This was not chosen in this reality. As a result, not only were societies which you understand to be Lemuria developed, there were other societies that Lemuria expanded into that it did not expand into in this timeline. What you call the Atlantean society in this unique timeline, with a different origin in that way of what you call human, this version of Atlantis was a direct extension of Lemurian Empire, and that the Lemurian Empire did not go down the various turns it went down in your timeline, which we will save for another transmission. In this reality version of the timeline, Lemuria expanded in the same time frame of the development of our contemporary version of Atlantis. And as a result, much of the technology that was built had much more levels of unity consciousness promoting it. And as a result, there was no need for secrecy amongst any of these esoteric pioneers, such as myself. In this society, it was different pioneers. I was not involved in this way. I played a different role. But understand that these beings did not have secrecy. Their unity consciousness was very much linked to the Earth, but not only to the Earth, to a version of themselves that did not have the introduction of negative perspectives into the collective belief system. And as a result, what you call the negative realities of Earth were not birthed here. They were not birthed here. But these beings always had constant awareness of the negative versions of Earth and all the different variations because of their level of knowingness with the all. So they were able to observe all this and say, oh, wow, look, if we choose this option, we'll go there. Well, okay, let's choose this instead. If we choose this option, we'll go there. Let's go this instead. And what they also did was, through observing the negative version of Earth, they evolved their own being because they were able to observe the lessons, just like you observe your lessons sometimes on television or movies. They were able to also observe this as well through observation. And as a result, our society never actually crumbled. It is actually one consistent human society that never crumbled. It continued to evolve, continued to evolve. It has connected to the other versions of humans on other worlds. They are in constant exchange and communication and trade. There has been reproduction from the beings, the other humans on other Earths, with this unique version of our society in this timeline. So different versions of humanity was in this way able to interface with itself on Earth, understanding that the humans birthed on other worlds had unique origin stories, just as the humans on the Earth in this timeline had their unique version, different to the unique version you experience on your timeline and our timeline. The reason this point of view exists is so your version of reality always has an unconditional positive point of view to shift to no matter what. No matter what, that reality already exists. And it has its infinite variations of itself because there's infinite parallel reality versions of that timeline. But when they split too far off, they actually become a separate timeline. So there's a collective theme of unity consciousness, a collective theme of unconditional love being the fabric of creation, because that's what it is, and it's accepted there. And this reality emanates its vibration in all of its different variations. So your society will always have another physicalized version of Earth to actually shift to as you become more of yourselves, as you become more representative of who you are. And it's not to say you will actually become a spitting image of that society, but you will create whatever the unique versions of you in this timeline choose to then create through its particular emanations, and then your imaginative emanations upon that to actually make it more representative of who you all are in this lifetime.
Wow, that is very, very, very interesting too. So, does this timeline supposedly? I mean, does this timeline exist in on Earth?
Yes, because the Earth infrastructure is rooted to all parallel versions of Earth.
Oh, okay, okay. So you're saying so this timeline that is rooted, or to the connection is rooted here on Earth to your that timeline that you speak of.
Yes.
So is there an energy exchange going on with that world and this I am world here?
Yes. Always. Because there's always exchange between all levels of reality, no matter how subtle. Because all levels of reality are not separate.
Wow. So you guys made it also, like you discovered that love in which you spoke of.
Yes.
That was the backing, and you did not accept that fear stuff.
Yes, in this version of our reality, yes.
Wow, it's very amazing to have your story here as well. During your translating of this message of the timeline, you mentioned your role was something else, your personal role.
Yes, in this utopian timeline, I did not exist as the parallel reality version of myself. I experienced myself as Raphael in my unique reality. I was born in a different time in that way of Atlantean development. I began to play a role as an artist. I was a painter in this way, but I painted very uniquely, utilizing our technologies to create what you understand to be light-based holographic images, utilizing crystals within our paint fabrics that began to hold such charge that they'd be able to holographically emanate the light of whatever it is we began to paint. Again, this is through the implementation of many of the astral substances you will soon begin to explore that can be downloaded on your Earth. But on this version of reality, I was utilizing paint in this way to create three-dimensional and sometimes four-dimensional versions of artwork. And the reason I chose this theme was because the technology that we developed in Atlantis in my timeline as Raphael was developed so much earlier that I didn't need to play that role. I could play a different role.
Wow.
So I have a whole other incarnational theme available.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Especially about the sort of crystalline, or, you know, the other types of substances that are spiritually connected that could be used for art and paint, translate the whole message on other layers. It's amazing. I'm sure we're going to see that.
Oh, yes. You find it's already emerging. There are already people on your Earth currently doing this.
Wow. Wow. And that was amazing, giving the explanation of, you know, your origins and in your world and where you were coming from. Was there another? Did you want to go into the other topic of the devices or the tools that you're offering, or what was the second thing you wanted to end on as well?
Yes, we will emanate different light-based activations translated through what you call light language through the channel. This will allow for many of you to be able to develop much more of your logical minds, but in a way that is based automatically with the heart. Many of you talk about unifying the left and right brain to balance your thoughts. We actually specifically would meditate upon synchronizing the left brain with the heart, because the right brain is already calibrated slightly more to the heart's awareness. So we bring the energy of the heart into the left brain, and as it becomes much more based in love, we don't actually begin to then differentiate between left and right brain, logical and imaginative. It becomes one mind. So understand, you can do this by bringing your love in your heart to the left brain. You'll begin to apply the same type of effect that this particular light language transmission will also begin to do. If you are ready, we can begin, and you can utilize that meditation tool as a permission slip to go deeper into the words that we emanate in the now.
Very, very well. We all give ourselves here the chance, and we can give ourselves the permission slip to accept this energy exchange from Raphael. And I urge and nudge those to go ahead and take this time while I'm speaking to give yourself the permission slip to exchange energy through peace and the fifth world of peace and the true essence of your own individual peace you're bringing to this live broadcast in cells.
Without further ado, allow for your breath to become big and relax with no force. Feeling how your breath gently pushes down automatically on the intestines, on the lower organs within your abdominal wall. Feel how all of this descends with your breathing. And if you wish to use the meditation symbol, feel the love and joy within the heart. Feel it connect specifically to your left brain, taking a moment just to become aware of the different levels of the left brain. The upper level, feeling the upper parts of the left brain. Feel how you will feel the outer regions of the brain, and then the most inner, closest to the midline regions of the brain. Notice how your heart reveals to you all of these spaces in the brain. Smile to this with love. Scan the middle layer, its most superficial components and its deepest components. And smiling down to the lower region of the left brain, feeling its outermost components, most superficial, and its deepest levels. This transmission will now commence. Synchronize your heart's awareness with its infinite awareness of how it is always guiding the left brain when you are aware and knowing that it is doing so. Siko watapai wakoyoto wasmomayo yamoto kunyarokai wito mayo wayayo Ichokara Mariai Wakoyato Watio Lisukoya Rampito Entuyumara Idino Inkoyata Ikoyota Intokumayo tokonyo, entokumayo konyoto. Intuyo, intuya, intuyo kon, intuya. Iokora, iokoyana, ikonyora, ikonyonara. And allow now for yourself to feel how open your left brain has become. And you will find you can do the same exercise for the right brain to bring even more love into your right brain. And you will also find, eventually, as we've said, you will have one brain in that manner, still able to differentiate between the different unique regions of the two hemispheres. But you will experience your brain synchronized in such a way you could say you're using your whole brain. Dispelling the myth you only use 10% of the beautiful organ of the brain. And when you are ready, allow for yourself to rub your hands and rub the face, massage the thighs, whatever allows for you to integrate these changes more so into the wholesome quality of your physical body.
Thank you, Raphael. Thank you.
You are welcome. From our sincerest hearts, emanating who we are and the gifts we have to share with all of you, we thank you so much for empowering us and for all of you empowering yourselves. And we thank our civilization for resonating with our own empowerment, as together we allow for our societies to unify in a way that respects all of our individuality and allows for each of our civilizations to go through whatever changes we are going through the expression of joy and our own individual highest preference, which is automatically linked to a version of the collective consciousness in resonance with that preference. So new worlds, new realities can be born for both of our societies in a way that is representative of the communion we are having now. We thank you all so much, and we will speak again sooner than you think. Happy travels.
Happy travels, safe travels. Thank you very much. Thank you. We shall speak again.
Wow. Wow.
Wow, that was powerful.
Yeah, dude, that was great.
Wow, I could not have expected anything like that.
Yeah, man.
So I can go ahead and end the live broadcast. And unless you wanted to share anything else, Tyler, before we go.
I just want to thank you. I want to thank you, Ryne, for doing this. Your channel and your essence and everything you embody, I love so truly and so dearly. And I can't thank you enough for having me on, man. You're amazing.
I'm honored to have you on, man. And I'm sure. So in the future, I'd like to do more shows. So I think that people should just keep a lookout, because this is actually gold, and not many people are doing this. So I'm honored by you also, Tyler. Thank you for coming on Emanating Sovereignty, May 19th. And I'd just like to leave the essence of everything that was exchanged during this message and broadcast. And we thank all the Atlanteans for coming out, everyone for watching. Please invest in yourself. Take these techniques, listen to it again, expand within yourself. And we'll see you next time on Emanating Sovereignty.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you, Ryne.